Hi everybody, this is Rob May. This is going to be my first YouTube video pretty much ever for this subject. But I go by the tag not Rob or not Rob May on Twitch. I'm going to try to talk the best I can about the Gigantamax features that have come out because there's stirring up quite a bit of, how would you say, negative impact and positive impact, and people are just kind of like, this is the opinions you should have. And I'm going to try to take like a middle of the road opinion here. Just so that we can kind of understand things more logically about how the system works, and maybe you can learn something out of this, as well as maybe like why things are difficult. So let's start with what we know. I've set up a paint window here, so we can kind of take some bullet points. So first, it's new. Okay, so it's a new system, which means that a lot of people don't like it just because you can't use any of your old you can't use any of the old Pokemon that you had. You just can't use any of them. So it's like, what's the purpose of these? So basically what they've done before we, the reason that people, again, don't like them here is because like you had to basically do the Gmax introductions to get the certain Pokemon so that you can do the baby ones. So it's very much like you get the freebies and then you have to go do the basics. Right? And then once you get the basic stuff, this is like your starters, right? So this is kind of like your starters. That would be your basics. But then once you get the basics, then you need to understand what the next step is, which is Evo and power up for the system. Okay. So this is, again, we're looking at this more from an internal standpoint rather than like how players are doing it, right? So they're like, okay, so here's how we're going to do the rollout. We're going to introduce a new system. It's going to be free to start. Your basic stuff is going to give you, you know, anywhere between 800 to 1,000 freebies a day, right? Depending on how you do it. Of course, you can get more. But that's kind of the generic free route. Okay. But if you evolve and power up, this is like, people are okay with doing this because this doesn't cost them anything. In fact, this is also free, but the powering up costs something. So this is your dust, right? That's your dust. No one wants to spend dust on anything. Like casuals, hardcores, no one wants to spend dust unless you absolutely have to. And you can't use the old Pokemon anymore. So if you don't want to evolve and power up, then you basically are at a crossroads at level 20. And you maybe use some TMs. Yeah. So if you want to do the system, this is how it works. You have to do date. This is like one day allowance that Niantic gives freebies to players. You can either spend it to get more. You can get more. Or you can improve what you have. Right? So if we've got new stuff, you can keep trying to get more. This could be more, or this could increase the quality. This is like quantity or quality. Wow, this is really hard to write over here. This is quantity or quality. It's not exclusive. because some people like me, I still don't have like really any good Gengars. So I'm like trying to get more Gengars by doing more Ghastlies. But at some point, I've got to spend a couple of my days and a couple of my freebies to do the improving route so that I'm ready for the Gmax Gengar raid. And also, you need to delay for 1 day before you have the Gmax day, if possible, because you can get all of this here. You can get all of that freebies to go into your first day, and you can double up. So you get a 2 times basic bonus on your Gmax stuff if you want to do that. Okay. So this is kind of how it works. This is a lot of stuff that we already know. So if you want to figure out why people are upset because they want, people are upset because they want free stuff. This is a list of what people want. They want free, and they want new, and they will do a little bit of pay. You might say that they'd pay some. Actually, hang on. So we have free and money, right? Both of these can get you, but you can get like more if you pay more money. You can get more opportunities, right? But these are not created equal. You have a limit with your free stuff. And this actually doesn't help everyone either, because dust does not equal something you can buy. So because we can't buy dust, it doesn't matter which of these type of players you are. No one wants to spend this unless they absolutely have to. So you've got 2 camps of people that are willing to spend the dust. You have people that they don't like it. And so because they don't like it, they're never spending dust. These people are upset because they're going to be upset with any mechanic that requires them to spend dust. But you have another camp where people are willing to spend dust, but only if it's 100%. These people go up a tier, and rarely they will spend the dust. If it's 100%, then it becomes useful. And then you've got the last people here that will spend it when it's like, let's say 15 attack / shiny sometimes. They'll spend their dust on this stuff. This is kind of common logic for what people would spend their dust on for Gigantamax. But the problem is also that there's a separate section with people that like D and G max raids are just like an extra thing now. And there's no payoff for those people, or at least that's what they'll tell you. So like the reason people don't like the Gmax and the Dmax stuff is because the entire system, we'll just put max system, is completely like null outside of itself. So this whole thing is over here. And then you've got, raids and megas and PvP. And you've got catching, right? Now, all of these systems work together in a certain way. When megas were introduced, this is a newer system they affect raids and catching. And catching can also is like not mutually exclusive from raids. It is kind of like synonymous with that. So it kind of goes both ways. And catching and raiding helps you get certain PvP stuff. But catching gets an extra bonus for PvP because you want lower IV floors. Raid only gets one line because it's, you know, weaker. But catching informs a lot of other stuff. I should probably have done this like a two arrow line here. Like this. But, you know, this is where we're at. So just imagine that this other line doesn't exist. Okay, there we go. So PvP. But look at this max system. The only thing that max system interacts with is catching. That's all. That's all. It's kind of like catching is everything, but the max system is trying to be a raid and also trying to be a mega at this level, but not really able to do so because, as you can tell, the catching system with megas goes both ways. You can catch anything in the wild. You can catch anything in raids. And this is almost like, let's just make this a solid line because it is. This is like a perfect trifecta. This is a perfect triangle. These three to go together like this. So we can kind of just pipe them all together. That's a triangle. The megas, raids, and catching, they all work together. PvP is another worse isolated system because you have to take these things to use them, but the megas affect these two things only. And while some things will say it's got like a dotted line, that's kind of like almost like a B. It doesn't even look that great. You can kind of use it with PvP, but you really can't because it's only like grassroots or if you're just trying to play for fun. You can do it for fun, but you can't do it for like actual like GBL or like competitions. But it does help you get the catching and the rating of the stuff that you need to use for PvP. Okay, so that's kind of what I think is the main fundamental thing that people don't like about the max system is it doesn't interact with anything. But at the same time, if you go from like a Niantic point of view, they think that it's a good thing that it's isolated. And I'll tell you why I think this is what Niantic thinks. Number one, it's because it forces a game reset for everyone. Doesn't matter if you've been playing for a day or like 6 months or 10 years. The reset is whatever level requirement it is that you need to do to unlock the Gmax and the Dynamax stuff. Sorry, there's someone outside. My window's open. There we go. So that's what I think is why they think it's a good idea, is because they want the game to last a long time. Right? They want the game to last a really, really long time. And if they can force us to play the game longer in any way, this is the only way that they know how to do that. But the players are like, I want to use, the players say it's bad because I can't use my collection. And this is like a very decent sentiment, I would say. It's like if the community could really admit to themselves that they don't like it, as that's like the real reason. I think of like mainly because of you can't use your toys. It's not that you can't use them, it's just that like you can't use them for only this part. In the previous one with PvP, I should have mentioned that rockets are also kind of in that pseudo encounter system. But that's really what I'm going with. Okay, so I think that this is kind of the core of why people don't like the Gigantamax stuff, regardless of like how difficult they are. Like the difficulty is kind of like its own thing. So let's talk about the difficulty for a second. The difficulty. 10 to 40 is recommended. Okay, that's the recommended is 10 to 40. But if people bring level 40 counters with at least level 2 abilities, there has been a report that it only takes 8 people to do it. That's what I think. Also, welcome into the people that are chatting. I'm just going to let your guys' comments be here if you want to talk about this. I'm going to try to upload this to YouTube. We're currently at like 16 minutes, so I don't know if this is going to be too long for YouTube, but we'll find out. It might just be worth breaking up into multiple videos, but I don't know if I have the time for that. So anyways, we've got level 40. If you do that, there's actually a distribution chart I want to share with you guys for a second that YTX Pikachu shared with me. That I will open here and just share with you all. Let me just change this to my screen here. There. Can you guys see that there is a steep power up of the level of the Pokemon? So at the 20 mark is what you have when you catch a Pokemon from a Dynamax or a Dynamax battle or a battle for the Gigantamax. Those Pokemon, when caught, are here. So, and if you power them up to 30, this line is essentially the same bell curve, or the same, like, it's not even a curve, but from level 10 to level 30, it is a direct correlation with each power up that you go. It's going to be this almost straight line to 30. Then it cuts it in half from 30 to 40 and cuts that in half from 40 to 50. So that's how much the CPs are going to increase based off of this, right? Because this is, if you take the 30 to 40 line as almost an entire just square from corner to corner, and then you look at this one and it's like a little bit less than corner to corner, this is not like that steep, but there's still like some benefit to this. But then you look at this one and this is literally just half from 40 to 50 for the XLs. So there's a very steep dust investment for how much you're going to get for your dust. Okay. This, I will tell you this, if you don't lucky trade, let's kick back to this. If you don't lucky trade, level 20 to level 30, the dust cost of this ability is about 75,000. I did it today. It'll cost you 75,000 for each Pokemon that you want to power up. It's more to go past 30, of course. But the bare minimum is that you do this, plus you evolve your Pokemon, and you choose good types. So don't bring in your Charizards against the Blastoises. Don't bring in your Gastlys against don't bring in your Gastlys. Or not your Gastlys, sorry. Don't bring in your Venusaurs versus the Charizards, that type of thing. And don't bring in your Metagross versus Charizard either. So you have to choose good types, and you have to evolve. You have to do it. Furthermore, choosing the types and evolutions have a third thing that you need to do, which is TM at the bare minimum, the fast TMs to change the attacks for your Dynamax and your Gigantamax Pokemon to have the fast attack that will hit hard. Like, it will be the water move or it'll be the grass move. They have to have that. You can even run Razor Leaf on your Venusaur if you really want to. I don't care. But it has to be a grass move. So pretty much, this is the bottom line of why things are difficult. I think you can find a middle ground between the 8 and the 40 where people were kind of, I think the most complaints were coming between 20 and 30, perhaps like 18 or whatever. But if there's a level 40 thing, my guess is that a safe number for these is going to be about 15 in the future. But right now, I think you shouldn't do them unless you can try to do the bottom here where you get level 30s of good counters. And then you do the rest of this stuff here. And you can get about 20 people to pony into one of these events. You can clear them. That's just talking only about the difficulty, okay? We're not talking about the negative opinions yet. I haven't even gotten to that, okay? So this is what I think about this part. Difficulty alone, I think for now it'll be about 20. I think over time, as people get more willing to do them and are excited about them or whatever, continually do them, we're going to get more Pokemon. We're going to get better counters. You know, the global event, you have to only use, you can use the drill burrs, but they're only going to be out for like a Monday. But the availability thing is the big issue at the moment. So the more available things get, the more people get them. The more people get them, the more people trade them and use them, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think this number over time will go down to a kind of a 15 general expectation. This is like going into a Dynamax raid, no coordination, random people walking in, showing up and playing. I think over time, the 15 is going to be more realistic. But like, if you have ever remembered trying to do like elite raids with, here's the other thing that people are trying to remind you is like, when raids first came out, they were really hard because we had tier 5, like Mewtwo and like Lugia. Like, we did not get blessed with easy raids. We also had the birds, right? And then Lugia and the dogs. I'll just put this because Lugia, Ho-Oh, and the dogs. But to be fair to us at the early stages, Lugia and Ho-Oh in particular are very, very defensive oriented. These bosses are super hard even now. So like, if you go into these raids and you bring level 20 Pokemon, or sorry, you have 20 people at level 20 Pokemon and you're doing a Lugia, you're not clearing that. Have to, like, if every single person in the raid, every single person had 6 Pokemon, and you had 20 people in there, there's a very like high likelihood that no one's clearing that raid. And there's also people that are going to that raid with like Aggron with Heavy Slam back in the day when the algorithm was very, very bad at choosing your own teams. Living up. Okay, so Rebel Lord is going to say something here that we'll read. Gigantamax had 40 people and we still failed a lot of them. Why? Because people were bringing base set weak Pokemon. Yeah. Well, they're bringing weak Pokemon and they're not going back to what we established before, where you have to bring in like a baseline of something good. And no one wants to spend their Stardust. Yeah. Like, I understand the Stardust problem. Oops, sorry. I understand the Stardust problem because there's a lot of people that play the game very little. Little play. This is very low if you don't play a lot. It's facts. So I remember not playing a lot, and when I'd have a community day, I would like max one of those Pokemon to 40. Because I wasn't even quick catching. I was playing by myself. I would go out. I would catch a couple of shinies. I would maybe not even play the whole time. Sometimes I would. And then I would just go home. And I'd power up my Torterra to go do rockets with. And because it was shiny, I didn't really care. Or I'd like go do lucky trades of, you know, with friends and try to get the higher IV ones, whatever you have. But these are really, really hard. And the problem, another issue with them is that it doesn't just take 20 people. Now it's kind of like at the moment, it takes us 20 people kind of is the average. If you've got like relatively decent level 30s, I would say. So if you got level 30s, I think for the max raids, you probably need this many people showing up. And that's not very feasible for a lot of communities. That's a lot of people to coordinate for one thing. And to get that many people to care about a brand new mechanic is very hard. Okay. So without discussing like using your Stardust, powering things up, trying to come up with a middle ground of getting people to get their Pokemon to level 30, I'll give you an alternative strategy before we get into the negatives, okay? So let's review the previous one. You need level 30s. So level 20, push those to 30. This will cost you about 75K. If they're lucky, like if you lucky trade for them, that's lower. Don't care about the IVs. Just don't worry about it for now. Just think about the fact that you're going to get these to 30 for now, and then you'll just get better ones that you're just going to max to 40 or max to 50, and then they'll just be easier, okay? Evolve your stuff, okay? Evolve in TM the fast attacks. And then the other would be to start getting more types. So like, we'll just say all the types. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to go back on that. I'm going to say, if you can, try to get yourself a Metagross. And the reason I say that is the majority of Pokemon in the game, Steel will beat as far as defensive typing is concerned. Steel resists like the most stuff. And so the only things you really have to worry about are Dark, Fire, Bug, because it's a psychic type. Yeah, we'll just do weak. Dark, Fire, Bug, Ground. Feel free to chime in, guys, if I've screwed anything up. But I think these are like the primary thing. Oh, Ghost. Yeah, Ghost. So these are like your primary things you have to be aware of when Metagross. But out of all of the types in the game, this is a very small list that you have to worry about. And furthermore, you could even cross out Bug because you're not going to really face off against a very difficult, very crazy, strong boss that's Bug typed. There's a couple G-Maxes that are Bug types, but they're also Psychic types. And like, they're not out yet. So we really only have to worry about Gengar, who's a Ghost type, but it's poison. So you can kind of still cope and win. And Bug is only neutral because you resist it with Steel. So yeah, I was getting to that, Dylan. Thank you. But yeah, you get to it's neutral. So you really only have to worry about like the most common one in this group is actually probably going to be Fire and Ground when we get to the other ones, because there's not that many Dark G-Maxes that you're going to want to go hunting. There might be some Dynamaxes that you can hunt, but if the Dynamaxes stay at like tier 1, the tier 3 ones can be soloable at some point. So you don't have to worry about it. And the reason I say to get the Metagross is that it's like a sponge. Metagross is a giant shield. That is a very unfortunate shield. Let's do it this way. That looks like a shield, right? Metagross is a shield. It can soak everything. You don't even need to worry about the typing advantage with it. You put it in the front. You max out the defense stat to 2. You don't max it out to 3 if you don't feel like you need to spend the XLs on it. You can max out the attack to 2 or 3 if you want. Run it with Psychic because it's lower energy. Even against Toxicity, guys, when that comes out, the Gmaxes, I'm going to be running Psychic. Why? Because you need a lot of people to do it. I know a lot of people are very apt to skip out on it. And so I'm going to run Psychic over Earthquake, even though Earthquake is 4 times super effective, because the Gmax and the Dmax moves are the ones that you want to hit it with, not the charge attacks. The charge attacks are fine, but only really initially. And you want to get as many people to use them and hit them to charge your other bar faster. That matters more than the damage between them, at least for now. So you only need to build one Metagross. So that's one of your Pokemon done. All done. Then you just start building slowly 2 other Pokemon that have a type advantage. And push those to 30, like we were saying, and do all this other stuff. So in realistic expectations, you can force yourself to go like, okay, I'm going to build a Metagross, and then I'm going to have one Pokemon with a type advantage. If you really want to go super neutral on this to spend even more resources, make 2 Metagrosses to soak, and then keep switching to when you can Dynamax or Gigantamax, switch to your nuking Pokemon that can do the damage, and then go back to one of your tanks again. You just build 2 tanks and then a nuke, like a DPS. So think of this more on like team strategy than anything. And I think if you got a bunch of people walking into these things, it's great. And then also, don't leave. Use the cheer feature. The Megaphone, it works. We can basically stun lock bosses out of damage if everyone is cheering and there's like 5 people left with one of their tanks, and they can just keep spamming a shield and then hitting it twice with damage. We stun locked a couple bosses out with like 23 or 24 or 25 people the other day, and I was knocked out very early. I was just sitting there cheering for like 5 minutes. It was great. So this is probably the best way to, I think, to kind of get rid of the bosses. All right, now let's talk about why people are upset. All right, here's what I'm going to say are valid concerns with the system. As with everything in Pokemon Go, things are only on a timer. Gengar is only out for the 3rd through the 31st of October to the 3rd of November for you to get the unique form of Gengar. Of course, we could be grinding it like all month for normal Dynamax Ghastlies, if you will. But if you want the good attack and you want the good, cool Gengar, then you only have to grind for a couple days. You also have a new resource. Isn't free. Or this basically, I'll say, translates to 1 to 3 encounters. And I'll say this is probably per day. And the reason I say per day is that if you want to spend a little bit of money, most people spend like particles for 1 extra one. But if you stack up resources for the day before, you plan well, and you go in the second day, you can do 3 in a day. But if you do it for multiple days, then that number goes down to like 2 or 1 per day after this, because you don't really have enough to go further than that the next day because you've spent all of your max particles. Okay. So this is another thing, is that people don't like that they can't do that many of them. I think raiding is a similar mechanic, but like raiding seems to be significantly cheaper. So I'm going to put a question mark here. Costs? Too much or too little? Who knows? The max particles, you can actually store the containers in your bag as an item, and you can just hold them. And then every once in a while that you want to spend one, you can just pop it out and use it. That's how those work, which is nice. 7 minutes of the enraged. There you go. So that's what I think is, you know, another problem is that people think that it costs too much, but it might be because the new passes like of particles, you can't use it any other way, right? Passes you can spend on GBL for premium track. You can spend the green passes for additional raids in the same day in person. You know, you can get them for free by, you know, encountering problems and filing a ticket. So some people have been stockpiling them for different reasons. They're also very cheap. They're in the boxes a lot. These particles are not really in a box at all. There's not really that many of them in a box for you to get a deal on them. So people don't want to spend money on them, right? They're literally, right now, they're actually only 5% off when you buy the group pack, which is embarrassing. The other one is flea rate. This is something we have to all admit to ourselves, but there are a lot of people in this game that are in the camps of being elderly, in the camp of being young and childlike, like literally children playing and kids playing with their parents and their families. That is a great thing for the community. It's a good thing for all of us to be playing. But the problem is that you can go and use these resources, and every time you clear one, you have the boss run away. And you don't get it. This is also a problem in raids. I did 2 raids, a shadow raid and a normal raid, in the same day, back to back, and both of them ran from me. And I threw an excellent throw 28 times in a row. They just ran. Sometimes the encounter rate just doesn't want to stick around. I don't know why, but that's just sometimes how the cookie crumbles. It's very rare that that happens, but you know, some people are not very good at throwing these like the new throws of the big kind of Gigantamax balls are kind of weird to get to throw. Some of the kids are not very good at it. I mean, I'm not frankly that good at it, and I'm a vet playing this game. So I think this is a big issue for me. Like, this is probably the #1 issue, I think, with Gigantamax raids. Personally, I think if they're gonna like, here's a really fun one for you guys to consider. Like, you got raids, and then you got max battles. We'll just say BTLS. I think that's okay for these to be systematically different. Raids, you only get the shinies are guaranteed. And then it's a chance for everything else. All the other stuff. I think it's okay for all to be guaranteed for Gmax battles. I legitimately think it's fine. And in the other encounters, even with phalanx and stuff, like the tier 3s and the tier 1s, the flea rate's very low. Like, you can still catch them pretty easily. But for whatever reason, these Gmax ones, or even the Dynamax ones that are like tier, like the Charizards and whatnot, like if they were to put those like normal, like tier 3 level boss or whatever, they're hard to catch in the wild. Like, their catch rate's really low. I think it's fine to make all of these easy, like, auto catches. Barely make the raid and fail to catch. Yeah, it's depressing, to say the least. Wow, this recording is almost 40 minutes. So anyways, maybe I'll just upload a really big video, but I think this is probably the biggest negative for me, is that these things can run, and for your communities, it's really hard for community leaders to do all of the stuff that I just spent like 30 minutes talking about, to educate people, help them one by one or in a group, how to clear the boss, go to the place, do some coordinating, work with them, get some community people together so that they can kind of spread out the love, the people that know what they're doing with some of the people that don't, and try to just, you know, share the love. Everyone's a team, and have a good time with your community, if that's the point, right? The point is that you don't want people leaving the event with nothing. Because if people leave these events with nothing, they're very, very, very angry. Actually, this is the wrong one. How do I do? I don't know why I'm doing this. They're like beyond mad. That, and this is basically like, this transcends age. Like this is not even ageist. Like anyone that plays Pokemon and doesn't catch something, it's so annoying. And Niantic wants to charge us 200 coins to give you extra. Yeah, the rewards are also pretty bad. Now, I won't say that the rewards were bad for me because I actually had 2 of the raids. Gave me the big, juicy, rare XL that I wanted. So I just paid the 200 coins and got it because I was like, heck yeah, I want those. But not everyone had that luxury. The rewards are bad. I should say bonus rewards. Plus paid rewards. Are bad. Like, objectively bad. The only thing in this whole system that people even want is the bonus XL rare for the paid track. But for the bonus rewards for the non-paid track that people don't want to pay for that like, the XLs are good. Because if we've got a new system and stuff that we've got to do, and XLs are going to be a part of maxing abilities to 3, in the long run, this is going to be a good change to keep. Not for paid, because no one wants to pay for that, but that's fine. Here's an idea that I have to improve some of this. Okay? Rare XL should be Rare XL should be guaranteed for G Max. G Max battles. And then paid, you can double it. All of this seems fine. Okay? I think that they should just be guaranteed for G Max. That's fine. If you don't want to guarantee it, then let's say it's close to like 50%. That's a very high chance. Rare XL to 50% for the G Max. Okay? The next thing that you can do is normal XLs. Always. One normal XL always. And then here's the little bit that I think people are not gonna necessarily know what I'm talking about. I think they should give you particles back for clearing them when they're difficult or when you can, I don't know. There needs to be some sort of thing where this, maybe even like put this as a percentage reward. That sometimes you can get particles back. And I don't mean like a little bit, I mean like a lot bit. Like let's say you can get like 100 particles back. 100 to like 300 particles back. This would be great because this is a sustainable resource to make sure people keep doing them. That's great. And the other is that they should just be like auto catch. For a tier 6. Auto catch tier 6. Just let people catch them if they clear them. It's hard. This is kind of like something that not a lot of folks are talking about for rewards, so I just wanted to mention it. I think that you could do a little bit for clearing them because the idea is that you need their whole scope is that if something costs 800, they're forcing you that by the third time, you have to spend money. But if you get 100, let's say 100 to 200 back instead, 100 to 200 back, I think by this basically just drops us down to number 4. The fourth one, you basically have to start spending money on the G max level ones. But this is a lot. This is a lot because you can't stockpile this except for, Go Wild area and then the global area. We're going to have an increase in our MP storage, which is very interesting. So this whole thing is kind of an unknown entity for me. It's kind of like, I personally think that they should just make this like they just should just not cap it like they do for the remote raids. Because if they didn't cap it like the remote raids, if they just do the same thing, then we can just keep doing them. And they force us to walk more and collect particles from more places because the particles are only coming back from one of those places. You've got to go to a new one. It forces you to go to more of the dens or go to more of the max battle locations to get more particles. So if you don't want to walk around, you can spend money and cheat it. That seems like a fine system to me. And if you're in a populated area, boom, there you go. You got reasons to go back to other places and get more particles and keep going. But I just really wish that they would give like the free track a little bit more to do than like one. And like even for raid hours, like people are stockpiling their coins so that they can do raid hours when they want to do them and then spend it on green passes. Like they don't need another thing to hold money on and spend on. And it's all isolated to this game mode. But anyways, that's kind of my thoughts on the negative side. I will say, the weird thing is that for the best stuff, my goodness, I can't draw. The good of Dynamax, I'm going to tell you the best thing about them. If you're a PvP player, there is zero reason to do them. You don't have to do any of them. If you're a hardcore raider, it's purely optional. It's literally like you can just ignore it. The rewards being bad mean that the rewards aren't something worth grinding. So you don't need them. If you don't want the rewards because they're bad, then don't do them. And if you don't want to spend the dust, then fine. But I think if they're gonna make bad rewards, a system that PvP doesn't need, and a completely optional section of stuff, then there's no real reason that we should be upset. Because we don't need it. That's all I really wanted to say. If you guys are upset at the system because you like it, that's a different story to me. If you like it and like it, then feedback is the only way to go. But please clear your minds and start thinking about how best to suit it up, because the only thing that Niantic really listens to is angry people who also don't spend their money. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I might try to post this to YouTube just to get some traction on this. Feel free to like and subscribe, whatever you want to do. I don't care. I don't have any way to monetize this video currently, so it literally doesn't help me. And it's not me clout chasing. I just feel like it was something that I wanted to share. I've been thinking about it for 3 days. And I also hope that the beginning of this video was very helpful for people to try to learn how better to do the raids or do the max battles instead, and then talk about the discrepancies with them. Okay? But just remember, it's optional. All of the cool, cute shinies are mostly stuff that we already have. There's things like Toxicity that will be out at Go Wild Area Global and in person. They will be Gmax battles, sure, but they will also be shiny unlocked in raids. So, and then you can also get Toxel, I think, in eggs. So there's multiple ways to shiny hunt this thing. It doesn't have to be the Gmax version, but if you feel like that flex is something that you absolutely need, then then you need to start kind of figuring out how to do the system better. I think ultimately there's better ways to kind of go about it than not powering stuff up. But if you want to go about it by not powering stuff up and not doing other things, the bare minimum stuff that I suggested is a way to kind of circumnavigate the system and like maybe spend a little bit now or a little bit here and there. Anyways, good luck everyone. I appreciate anyone that came to watch the video. Thanks for those that are watching this live. Yeah, that's kind of just all I wanted to say. And I hope Niantic listens to this. And again, like, actually not again, but like the other thing that I would like to see from Dynamax and Gigantamax stuff is like, it feels like a very isolated feature that could be given a really cool treatment similar to the Mega stuff. So if you guys could, like, at Niantic, if you watch this, anyone, I would really appreciate it if you could consider doing a rework to the system where the Dynamax and or the Gigantamax, even to just the Gigantamax ones, had some sort of extra feature that would be useful for us. I can understand the Dynamax feature being only isolated to those things. That's fine with me. But I'm thinking if people are going to go after chasing the Gigantamax naturally because they're really cool looking or whatever, and they have like much stronger stuff, it would make more sense that there's an additional effect that we can benefit from, similar to the Megas. Perhaps if like those three things where they have the defense and the heal and the attack, maybe you can do something with one of those where if you power that one up and use it, you can get an extra feature. Maybe the heal can like heal your Pokemon so you don't need potions anymore. You can the shielding thing, maybe that makes it so that you has an out of combat effect to make raiding easier. Or maybe it has a slightly different thing in Dynamax where you can like increase the defense of your Pokemon for a certain amount of time, or increase the chance, or actually decrease the chance of the flee rate of the Pokemon. That could be pretty interesting. Like if you're gonna go raiding and you got a Gigantamax, like, I don't know, or Beetle, they've got like a bug move. That bug one could be like, oh yeah, decrease the flee rate of my Pokemon that I'm gonna be after for like an hour. That'd be cool. What about the other attacks? I think you could also do something where it would be a type-based incense, similar to how you guys do lures, or like the incense that you have. If you could do like a type-based one, where it's literally only Pokemon that are in that season, that are the type of the Pokemon that you're using their attack with, are attracted to it. That could be pretty interesting. You could limit it to like once a day, or like similar to like the 1 per hour, and then you got to spend some of the resources on it, like the particles or something. I don't know. I think that there's definitely a lot of missed potential with this to give some cool other things that you can do and like affect how people grind day to day. I think that's one thing that I really liked about the Mega thing, and I know not a lot of people really like the Mega stuff. Personally, I love the reworked Mega stuff so much that I'm gone out of my way to make a lot of extra Mega stuff just to kind of benefit from making a bunch of things free in the long term. I invested a bunch of stuff up front, and I have like I think I have over 200. I'm just actually going to do a quick check. Let's see here. How many Mega 3s do I have? I have 105 Mega 3s. And if I do Mega 2s and Mega 1s, I have that number up to 120 as of this video, which is right after Mawile. And yeah, Mawile would have been the most recent Mega to have released. So I have loved the system, and I've got multiple ones, including the primals, and I think it's such a great system to implement, and it's really affected how I grind, and it's been fun to kind of min-max a little bit. So anyways, thank you so much for watching the video. I'm going to try to cut this under an hour, so thank you guys so much. Take care.